Assalamualaikum viewers, you're watching Community Circle on TV1 Canada with your host Anjum Malik. नाजरीन आज हम बड़े एक इम्पॉर्टेंट मैटर पर डिस्कशंस करेंगे जो कि बैंकरप्सी, कंज्यूमर प्रपोजल्स, डेट कंसोलिडेशंस के हवाले से है और as we all know that being as a South Asian in this country, the laws that we have of the laws of the country, we should always know exactly where we are heading when we have a problem. और इसी की मुनासबत से आज मैंने दावत दी है एक बड़े सीनियर लॉयर हैं जो कि कनाडा में पिछले 20-25 सालों से इस हवाले से काम कर रहे हैं। उनसे हम डिटेल से आज बात करेंगे कि कौन से ऐसे रिफॉर्म्स हैं, कौन से ऐसे लॉज हैं जिसको कि हमें समझना चाहिए जब हम कभी मुश्किलात में पड़ जाएं और डेट कंसोलिडेशन का मसला हो हमारा, कंज्यूमर प्रपोजल के हवाले से जो उनकी तजावीज़ हैं गवर्नमेंट की वो क्या हैं, बैंकरप्सी किस तरह होती है, डिस्चार्ज कैसे होती हैं। तो ये बहुत सारी आज इन्फॉर्मेशन है। दिस इज़ अ 2-part सीरीज प्रोग्राम दैट्स गोइंग टू रन ऑन संडेज फ्रॉम 2 PM to 2:30 PM और आप इसको प्लीज़ वॉच कीजिए और देयर लॉट ऑफ मोर इन्फॉर्मेशन दैट विल बी कमिंग टू यू। Before you make an informed decision, you need to see a lawyer, a trustee, bankruptcy trustee lawyer, and make sure you make an informed decision. So today we have in our studios Richard, and Richard has been with Clark, Forbes, and Fixel. That's a company that you run. A very good afternoon to you, and welcome to TV1 Canada.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and about your company first before we can ask you any further questions in regard to bankruptcies and consumer proposals, Richard.
We're 6 lawyers. I do the bankruptcy along with another lawyer from time to time. I've been doing this for about close to 45 years now. So I specialize in consumer bankruptcies, personal bankruptcies. I'm certified by the Law Society as a specialist in bankruptcy law as well as in civil litigation.
I think what we're going to talk today to you is a lot of our viewers into Canada and to our shows as well. They are newcomers to Canada, and they don't know the system that is run in this country. When we do get into a problem like debts, what is the time when somebody needs to know? What are the indicators that somebody needs to feel that he is in a trouble?
Well, some of the clearest ones are garnishments on their income, garnishments from Canada Revenue Agency, or if the credit cards are just too high. If you're paying minimum payments on the credit cards, you're having to borrow from credit card to credit card. It's very much like trying to plug a leak in a boat. Once there's too many leaks, you can't get from one to the other. It's time to get some advice, get some financial advice, go and see a trustee. Typically, if there's some issue, the trustee will send the client to me, but in many cases you won't need me, you'll only need the trustee.
Okay, okay. We will come to that point that where people would need to see you at what stage. But what is important that I want to ask you for our viewers is why would they go to a debt consolidator and not to a lawyer? And what are the differences that are available that people need to understand? That what are the norms of this business, especially like with the laws in place that we have?
Okay, well, I'll start talking about the debt consolidator. Typically, debt consolidators are of your own group. There'll be South Asian or there'll be various groups, and there'll be a higher comfort level with them because they'll speak the language. There are a couple of trustees around that I know of that would speak Urdu, but for the most part they're kind of difficult to find. So the debt consolidators will typically tell people that they can help them, take a fee for doing so, and send the client ultimately off to a trustee in bankruptcy, hopefully. Or maybe they'll try and do the negotiations themselves. It's typically not very useful because they have no process to bind the creditors. So again, it's like running around trying to plug the holes in the boat.
Okay, so what I understood from your answer is that that the debt consolidators are out there as a consultants. They do have some regulatory authorities, maybe not, I don't know, you have to tell us about that. But they might be just as a consultant working and then have a relationship with the lawyers who can help them further in the courts. Is that true?
Well, the relationships will be with the trustee in bankruptcy, who is not a lawyer. The trustees are very often chartered accountants, but they don't have to be.
Okay.
They're licensed by the federal department, the superintendent in bankruptcy.
Okay. So let's talk about these terms. Well, people are very scared about that, especially in our communities, that what is a proposal? What is a bankruptcy? What are the differences between those two terms?
Okay, a proposal is a little bit like the old game show, Let's Make a Deal. You make an offer to your creditors. The trustee will help you formulate an offer based on what you can afford. It'll likely be for monthly payments over a number of years, up to 5, I believe it is. And that will be sent out to your various creditors. If the creditors don't disagree, the proposal is accepted. If the creditors disagree, they can require a meeting of creditors, at which point you get to sweeten your deal.
Okay.
And if you're not successful, it just doesn't work.
Okay.
Then you're probably going to have to go into bankruptcy.
Okay, so let's talk about the protocol of a consumer proposal. When somebody have a situation like you just said, that he's paying off his debts to the credit cards, or he's borrowing money from the banks and paying out the other credit cards, and this is a time, one of the indicators that one should know that he needs help. So when he gets that help, then what is the next process? Let's talk about the consumer proposal process for our viewers.
Well, he'll make an appointment with he or she, I guess, with the with a trustee in bankruptcy.
Right.
Go and see the trustee. Discuss making the proposal. You don't have to make it on the spot. And if you don't have a comfort level with a trustee, find another one. There's lots of them around. There's lots of good, reputable trustees. They will, if you decide to go ahead, they'll list all of your debts with the names and addresses and the approximate amounts. They'll prepare a summary of the proposal, of the deal that you want to make. For example, it might be $10,000 over 3 years based on equal monthly payments. Or there could be a balloon at the end of it. There's any number of ways to structure a proposal. It's just whatever the ingenuity of the trustee can come up with.
So the trustee represent the government?
No, well, the trustee is licensed by the government. The trustee is what we call an officer of the court.
Okay.
They have responsibilities.
So he does represent the court on behalf of the court, actually?
Yes,
Okay.
although in a consumer proposal, the high probability is you're never going to see a court. You're never going to have to go to court. You don't lose your assets. You simply arrange monthly payments. If they're accepted, you're fine.
Okay, okay. So we hear this notion on the radios most of the time that people will come out and they'll say, okay, give us a call if you are in trouble. We can reduce your debt to a maximum 80 or 90%. How far this is true, Richard?
It's not totally untrue, but it's not typically what you're going to have to pay on the proposal is going to have to be attractive to creditors, and it's going to be based on both, if you have any assets, the trustee is going to look at the assets and say, okay, you've got to have a percentage of that in the pot. If you're earning money, the trustee has to look at that. It's got to look fair to the creditors. In terms of, yes, we're going to dry clean your debts and have it over by Wednesday, it's not going to happen.
So let's tell our viewers that what is protected when somebody is filing for a consumer proposal, or even in the bankruptcies. How are they protected when they're going for a bankruptcy or consumer proposal?
Well, there are two different things. In the consumer proposal, well, both in bankruptcy and in a consumer proposal, there's a stay of proceedings. Your creditors can't continue their garnishments. They can't continue suing you. CRA can't continue their garnishments until the proposal's performed, at which point the debts are gone, with some exceptions. On the other hand, in bankruptcy, all of your debt, well, again, you have the stay of proceedings, but your assets become the property of the trustee in bankruptcy who sells them for the benefit of your creditors, with some exceptions.
We'll take a very short commercial break. नाजरीन हमारे साथ रहिएगा और हमारे साथ रिचर्ड हैं. हम बात कर रहे हैं आज बैंक्रप्सीज और कंज्यूमर प्रपोजल्स के हवाले से. एक छोटा सा कमर्शियल ब्रेक लेते हैं, उसके बाद स्टूडियो में वापस आते हैं. प्लीज स्टे ट्यून एंड कीप ऑन वाचिंग TV1 Canada.